Hi, Karen here. I cannot believe the progress I made with one 14-year-old gymnast yesterday. She went from being 6 inches above the floor down to a full split in about 10 to 15 minutes. This gymnast and her parents were truly amazed. They could not believe she made 3 to 4 months worth of progress in only 10 minutes. So why did that happen? She didn't take a magic pill. We just stretched really carefully. At first, when she came in, I asked her to stretch on her own because I wanted to see her stretching habits and what her flexibility really was, the starting point. Then after that, I asked her to show me a split on her less flexible side. So when she did try that split, she was about 6 inches from the floor. Her front leg was almost flat, which meant her hamstrings were pretty decent as far as flexibility. But her back leg, the very top of the front of her back leg, was about 6 inches from the floor. There was a pretty huge gap. So anyway, we started with the hip flexor muscles. I explained to her parents that her hamstrings looked decent, her hip flexors looked tight. So the first thing I had her do was the stretch where a gymnast is on their knees, 1 foot in front, pressing their hips forward, hands next to her front foot, and we did a variation of this. I had her place her back leg against a block. You can do it against a wall as well. So her knee was against the block, but her shin was up against the block behind her. So her back leg was bent. So in that position, back leg bent against the block, front foot out in front of her, hips pressing forward, hands next to her front foot. I just had her press down as much as she could. Her first thought, or the first thing she said was, I feel this a lot more than the way we do it in the gym. So I asked, how do you do it in the gym? And she said, the coaches force us to do this stretch with our back legs straight. And she said, I always tell them that I feel it more with my back leg bent. Well, there's a reason for that. When you do it with your back leg bent and you keep your hands next to your front foot, keeping your lower back pretty straight, it targets the hip flexor muscle more. When you do it with the back leg straight, it doesn't target that muscle that she needed stretched too well. So I had her do this stretch, but then I had her move her front foot out 2 inches. Then I had her press her hips down again. I didn't physically stretch her. I did not even need to do the PNF stretching that I was planning on doing with her. So after she moved her front foot out 2 more inches and pressed down, I asked her to gently ease up and then press down again, about 5 or 6 times. And I told her to do it in slow motion. Ease up, press down, ease up, press down. After she did that, I told her to move her front foot out another 2 inches. Same process. Ease up, press down, ease up, 5 or 6 times. We went through that about 5 or 6 different times, 5 or 6 different levels or variations, I would say, until her front foot was so far out that the knee bend was very small. Besides the easing up and pressing down with her hips, I also had her gently rock side to side about a ½ inch, maybe an inch in each direction, just for some more mobility. She said she really felt that a lot. Now, the entire time this gymnast was stretching, she looked very happy and relaxed. She wasn't the least bit stressed at all during this whole stretching session. Her dad even said, your voice sounds so soothing. So I just laughed. I said, there's no reason to be, to yell. So then anyway, besides the ease up, press down, and the slight rocking side to side, I had her sit up and tilt back a few times, and then go forward a few times. So after we spent about 15 minutes just doing this one stretch, targeting that one muscle, I asked her to move away from that spotting block so that her leg was not on that, against anything at all. And I said, well, try your split now. See if it's any easier now. So I expected her to go down maybe 2 inches more than what she was, before that stretch. She went down. The expression on her face was priceless because she went down in a full 180-degree split, flat on the floor. It was amazing. Not only was her expression priceless, her parents were thrilled, and her mom said she has never in her life done a split. So how is it that this one gymnast made 3 to 4 months worth of progress in about 10, maybe 15 minutes? Because we targeted the one muscle that she was not stretching, the hip flexor muscle. Okay? So that's so important if you're coaching or if you're an athlete. You have to figure out which muscle is tight before you attempt to stretch, because then you won't make any progress. So this gymnast told me that these coaches had her doing, the whole team, sitting in oversplits for 2 minutes at a time. And they've been doing that for months, probably years. Evidently, sitting in an oversplit is not useful for most gymnasts. The other thing she told me is that they press her down really hard and that it really hurts. I mean, yes, it does hurt if you're not doing it correctly. And then the third thing she told me is that they have her doing splits with her knees, middle splits, rolled in. So these 3 things that these coaches are doing, and they're not intentionally trying to hurt anyone. They're just, not aware of the science behind this. But they're causing this gymnast's muscles to lock up and freeze, basically reducing her flexibility. So it's really counterproductive to stress out a gymnast and their muscles when you're trying to get them more flexible. So make sure your gymnasts or your athletes or you are relaxed if you're trying to increase flexibility. Make sure you know what muscle you want to stretch. And if you need help with any of this, please feel free to reach out to me. You can read more about what I do at bestsportsconditioning.com or KarenGoler.com. The article that goes with this podcast is a bit more informative than what I just gave you. So again, reach out to me if you need help for yourself or your team or your child, and I will gladly help you become more flexible. Enjoy your day.